Swayam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Hello all, welcome back to our course on digital accessibility. In the previous session, we spoke about what is poor versus good accessibility, what are the various design elements and design decisions that affect access, and we went through a lot of examples in order to understand what elements of design, what aspects of interaction help in making a system more accessible. We will keep discussing such examples throughout the course, along with some case studies as well. In today's session, what we'll try to understand is various aspects of digital interactions and experiences of various disabilities, and we'll try to focus on primarily 4 commonly known kinds of limitations in this session. So in one of the previous sessions, we have discussed in detail about what is the meaning of disability, and I'm sure you can check those sessions and get an idea. In a gist, I would like to reiterate that earlier the WHO organization itself defined disability as a personal attribute. That it is the person who has the disability, it is their, the onus was on them to make sure that they are able to reach places or they are able to access. If they are unable to do it, it's their problem. But now it has evolved into a context dependent definition, and now even WHO kind of recognizes disability as not just a health problem but a complex phenomena where a lot of, in fact, majority of the external factors play a role which cause hindrance in effective interaction, and just not limiting the definition to a person's limitation. And this has induced a shift in the mindset, the frameworks around accessibility, the guidelines around accessibility, consortiums, special interest groups. They have shifted the focus to make sure that the environment, the technologies, the products, the services are tailored to ensure access by a wide variety of users having different kinds of limitations. So there is this concept which is called as mismatch of interactions. So we are not looking at disability as a person's limitation, but rather we are looking at it as a mismatched human interaction. What is the meaning of that? Is that disability happens at points of interaction. So for example, what would be a point of interaction if, say, I want to click a button on a phone or a website app, and either I am supposed to do it through a touch based medium, or I am supposed to do it using a mouse or a cursor based interaction. So this kind of an interaction by itself is assuming a couple of abilities. This also, by the way, we have discussed in one of the previous sessions, which is called ability bias. So based on that ability bias, designers and engineers, they define some aspects of interaction. So what are the assumptions we are making in when we are assuming that, okay, the user will be able to click this button. It is just a simple clicking. So we are assuming that they will be visually able to locate the button to begin with. So an ability which is a visual perceptual ability is assumed to be haved by the user. And then we are also expecting that the user has some fine motor skills or motor dexterity, so that either they are able to use the mouse, drag it to a particular position and click the button, or have move their hand to that position of that button and press it with their finger. So these two combination of these two abilities is being assumed when a simple button click is designed or incorporated in any application or website. But what happens if a person has limited dexterity, or what happens if the person has limited visual ability? So that is what we mean by mismatched interaction. So places where the designer and the system assume certain abilities, that this is how it will be used as or interacted with, but the user has certain limitations because of which they are not able to interact with the system in an expected or intended way, then that is termed as mismatch of interactions. And it is our role to inquire how our designs affect interactions and create mismatches. Right? So again, those frameworks around ability biases, assumptions that we make when we make design decisions, so all of those things have to be taken care of. So for example, the aspect that if I have a limited visual ability, then how do I locate the button? So there may be other ways to do it. So for example, your system can be screen reader compatible. So, or the button signifier can be more than click here, something similar to which we discussed in the previous session, right? So it can say submit or whatever the function of the button is. So in order to make it more audio friendly, so when the screen reader comes, so there is a back-end coding aspect which is related to compatibility with a screen reader. We will discuss it in an upcoming session. And then there is a visual design aspect where the signifier can be a little bit more verbose or have a meaningful signifier rather than just say click here or click or OK. So because these are generic words. So with as per the context of your interface, it can be a little bit more meaningful, have a semantic meaning, in order to make it more accessible to an audio output or feedback system, which is like a screen reader. Then there can be other ways to click it or enable it. So maybe you can also incorporate audio input. So for example, if the user is not does not have the motor skills or the dexterity to move the mouse or their hand, they should be able to speak into the mic and say submit, and the button is recognized and clicked, for example. So we will understand how our designs can be evolved in order to make ensure that these interactions happen as per the intended purposes, with or without the abilities that it presumes the user to have. So the first step is definitely to acknowledge these mismatches and have the conscious understanding of where and at what points these mismatches are happening. So as we discussed, different types of impairments and abilities can affect or bring about these mismatches. So it is essential to understand different types of abilities and what are their specific needs. So we will try to first start with the terminology related to different types of abilities. So definitely the first is age-related impairments, so which refers to people with age-related who are aging and they have age-related impairments such as compromised fine motor skills, compromised visual acuity, compromised hearing. So all of those aspects can be associated with age-related impairments. They can be multiple disabilities. So some people have a combination of different kinds of disabilities which may limit their approaches for interaction. So somebody may have blindness as well as deafness. So then how would you then communicate your information? How would they interact with the system? And here is where emerging technologies like brain-computer interaction and other such technologies can play a very critical role. And in one of the sessions later in the course, we will also discuss such topics. Different health conditions, so which may affect their stamina, their dexterity, or their concentration. So when we say health conditions, so it's not just that people who have permanent disabilities which are identified as blindness or hearing impairment, etc., are the only ways they may face hindrance in interaction or a mismatch in interaction. There may be some ongoing health issue which may be causing certain limitations in their stamina. They may be feeling tired because of some illness. They are not able to concentrate. If there is too much information, then they are not able to concentrate, and they are feeling weak. Their dexterity is compromised for some duration because of the health conditions. So and similarly, those kind of impairments can be termed as temporary impairments. So some people, as we said, that maybe because of health conditions, due to an accident or medication, so they may be experiencing temporary impairments in their abilities, and they may not know about accessibility solution because they're not permanently disabled. So they may not be part of such cohorts, and they may not be part of groups which talk about assistive technologies, or they may not be a regular user of assistive technology. Then and they may not even know how to use an accessibility feature in their commonly used technology like a smartphone. So I think we've discussed it earlier in the course also, that for instance, if you go into the accessibility features of your phone, there are a lot of these screen readers, closed captioning, enlarged font. All of these features are available in your phone, but most of the people don't use them because they don't probably need them at many of the times. But in case, because of some temporary impairment, they want to use it, they need to use it, they don't know, they're not aware of it, despite it being available, readily available on their phone. So then, of course, that itself is also a gap which can be looked at as a problem or an opportunity, that how to make such people aware about different accessibility plugins and accommodations which are there in the existing technology. Then there can be situational limitations. So some people may be experiencing constraint due to their surrounding, or due to their other situational aspect. So for example, they may be in a loud environment like an airport or a railway station, and they're unable to hear audio. I'm sure you might have also felt this limitation at a railway station. It's so crowded and it's so noisy sometimes that you're unable to hear the announcement which is coming over the speakers about the trains which are coming, which platform it is going. Or probably in bright sunlight, they are unable to see a screen. And I think that is also something I'm sure you all might have commonly experienced, that during you are exploring your phone, but if the sun is shining brightly, you are unable to see anything on your screen. Or maybe because of their situations, they are not able to afford some of the assistive technologies. So that is also a situational limitation. So just we'll try to understand a little bit more about the temporary and situational exclusions. So things like short-term injury affects the way people interact with the world around them, and like think about looking into a bright light or wearing a cast. For example, your hand is broken and you're asked to wear a cast for 6 weeks. That's 1.5 months where you cannot use your hand in an intended way. So then how do you operate doors? How do you operate latches? How do you operate two-hand systems such as cooking or washing dishes and all of that? It becomes an issue. Or such as ordering dinner in a foreign country where you are not familiar with the language that they speak, or you're unable to read the menu. And in terms of situational exclusion, as we spoke earlier, people may face certain limitations because of their environment and their abilities. Based on the environment, their abilities can also dramatically change. So for example, in a loud crowd, you cannot hear well. New parents sometimes spend a lot of their time holding a baby in one of their hands, and they have to do a lot of their chores single-handedly. So they can be situationally handicapped for a period of time. Then there can be reasons around overwhelming day, which can be like a sensory overload, and you're not able to concentrate as well. You're fatigued. Your brain is not able to process as much cognitive information as it would be able to do in daytime or when you are awake or not tired. So even that is something which is an situational exclusion. So this is something like more, so we are trying to place disability on a spectrum rather than saying that it's a definitive thing where, if a person is amputate, they definitely have a permanent disability. But we're also saying that people who have an arm injury, people who have, holding a child in one of their hands, all three are experiencing the world in the similar manner, because all three have to limit themselves with one hand operation. So we are basically, what we are doing is extending the disability definition into a spectrum, and we are saying that it can range from permanent to situational types of disability, and thus this also can help us understand why, and also help us move away from the ability biases that we have discussed earlier. So where we are assuming that a person who is supposedly able to see, who is supposedly able to hear, who is supposedly able to walk, and at all times is also able to use both their hands at all times. So which is not the case. There may be situations where you are temporarily limited or situationally limited in your abilities, and you are not interacting with the technologies around you in the same manner. So when we extend this idea of disability to a wider set of audience, it becomes even more clearer that why it is critical to understand accessibility from a broader lens of disability spectrum rather than limiting it to specific types of people. We are broadening the definition to mismatches in interaction. We are not saying that it's any product that we will make which is touch enabled will only help people with one arm, or which is voice enabled will only help people who are blind. It will also help people who have cataract. It will also help a distracted driver come back to the direction of the road because of audio feedback. or it is not just going to help a person who is deaf. It is also going to help people who have ear infection for the time, for a duration they are not able to hear properly, or it will also going to help it is also going to help people who are in crowded or loud situations like an airport or a bartender who's serving drinks in a bar. All of these additionally, like it's you're not just helping people who are mute or non-verbal, but we are also helping people with laryngitis who are unable to speak for a duration, or people who have an heavy accent and you don't understand what they are saying, right? So the communication, if you can build a form of communication with people who are unable to speak, you're also helping these people as well. So the idea is that more people benefit, because number of people who may be amputated or who have permanent disabilities may be only a few thousands, but people who have temporary disabilities may be a few in millions. So that is what we're talking about when we say broadening the spectrum. We're also broadening our customer base. We are also looking at profitability in our product development. We are not just saying that we are doing it for charity. We are not, accessibility is not charity. We are saying that we're trying to build a more inclusive world in order to enable people who are temporary or even situationally limited to access all technologies available to them. So, people who may be having situational limitations may be much larger in number. So, we are serving a much bigger total than just people who are permanently disabled or classically defined as people with disabilities. So the idea is that inclusive designs can benefit a larger chunk of people. So this is what the gist of all of these aspects is, that digital technology, which is designed for people with a broad range of abilities, it benefits everyone, right? Including people without any disabilities. And it is therefore important to consider the broad diversity of functional needs rather than categorizing people according to medical classification. So we are not just categorizing people in definitions of disability, but we're also trying to understand as designers and as engineers that what are the functional limitations those disabilities are causing, and how we can enable those functionalities and features to overcome those limitations, rather than just saying that we are doing it for this particular section of the society.